you. All right. And we are particularly appreciative to have Ken Brown with us, from the Pacific Southwest District, the district in which we hope all of us here and many more be traveling to in June for our Justice General Assembly. We're going to spend, that's sort of what we're going to be spending our last little bit of time before our closing worship on, with our next steps for the Justice General Assembly, where we're going and what we're hoping to accomplish there. So as we go forward at this point, what we would like to do is to talk about that. And Ken is going to start off. We're going to do a couple things. We are going to make sure that before you leave today, you are well aware of the many resources that are out there to help you and your congregation prepare for this General Assembly and those that are being developed. We are also going to we're going to answer some of the commonly asked questions that several of us know are out there. Ken and I know specifically around this particular General Assembly. And then Lindi Ramsden of the Unitarian Universalist Legislative Ministry of California. How about that? We should say something about that too, which is a very great resource for us to have in our state. Those of us who are from California will talk to us about strategies in terms of working on partnerships between now and General Assembly and afterwards. So that's kind of the roadmap for what we're going to do in this last piece together. But first, Ken is going to talk to us about why we should come to Arizona.
Because it's going to be a good time. This is going to be something that you probably have never experienced before, with 3,000, 4,000, maybe even 5,000 Unitarian Universalists coming together to build capacity to do justice back home. And that's why we want you there. Arizona has become the flashpoint on a very crucial issue for our nation at this time, but it is not an issue that is only in Arizona. And so we're expecting a larger GA than normal for people coming to really come together and show that we Unitarian Universalists walk the talk and just don't sit in workshops and think about it. But we're there, and that we're going to help you with resources to take home. We're going to help you with ideas to take home. And we hope that you're already starting, like today. You've started already. And we hope when you're back in your local congregations, you're doing work. I know this congregation has a task force on immigration, that something probably that every congregation across the continent should have in preparation for GA. So we want you to be doing that as well. We have been involved in the Pacific Southwest District because we do border Mexico, this issue for many, many years, and our congregations have built connections with local people on this issue, and they're the ones who have invited us to come. So that's another reason to come, is it's the people who are being most impacted by this issue, the people such as Enrique, who you met this morning, who have been working on this for 25 years and dealing with this. They've invited us to come. So that's another reason to be there, to show them that, yeah, we do stand with them, and we're willing to do the work to carry it back home ourselves. Where'd Leslie disappear to? Oh, there she is. I don't know if I want to say any more than that.
Okay. All right. Well, what we're going to do then is we're going to answer some of the common questions about this particular General Assembly. And I'm going to give a very quick overview about how we came to be going to Phoenix next summer to do a Justice GA. And it's I think most of you in this room know this, but in case there's someone who doesn't know this, I want to make sure we're all in the same conversation. When a boycott was called on Arizona because of the passage of State Bill 1070 in 2010, our association faced a bit of a dilemma because we were already committed to hold our General Assembly in 2012 in Phoenix. And those of you who know a little bit about these large gatherings of Unitarian Universalists know that they are planned multiple years in advance. We have a schedule that goes out usually 5 and sometimes 7 and are already determined well beyond the time of this General Assembly. This was a very frightening moment for us as an association. Those of you that know a little bit about the history of our association know that we have had times of great schism over matters of difference, particularly when it pertains to questions around whether we should be supportive of the struggles and stripes of other racial groups. And that has been, for those of you who know about the empowerment controversies in the 60s and 70s, for many people this raised a great amount of fear that this issue of whether or not to go to this General Assembly could potentially be that kind of a schism that could divide our association and make it very difficult for us to continue to function as one religious body. So there was quite a lot of negotiation that went on to make sure that we could come up with something that would be really sort of a both-and solution, I think. And what we came to was to answer the invitation that we received to cross the boycott, but not to cross the boycott to have a convention or to do business as usual, but to come to Phoenix, particularly to help bear witness to what was happening in Arizona, because it is really a metaphor for what's happening around our nation. And so it's in that context that we are going to this particular Justice General Assembly in Phoenix in 2012. And it is our hope. And many people said, well, if we do that, it will be the smallest General Assembly we have ever had. It will be a complete failure. It will be, it is actually those of us who have been working diligently since then, I think, have the dream that will actually be one of the best attended General Assemblies that we've ever had, that it will be attended by people who have never attended a General Assembly, that it will be a call to witness and a source of passion for our young adult community, for others in our community who do not generally go to these gatherings. And so we are on that road. That said, it is a long and somewhat arduous road because we are doing things very differently. So it's important for all of you who care about this issue of immigration, which will be the focus of this General Assembly, to understand a little bit more about where we're going, why we're going, and what we're going to do when we get there. And that's the purpose of just this last little bit of time together.
Yeah, just to know, $8,000 has been raised by the Ohio Meadville District, which is Ohio and western Pennsylvania, and they've just begun. Their goal is something like $30,000 to raise money to bring people to General Assembly from that district. Our own district is looking at bringing somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 people alone just from the Pacific Southwest District. So I challenge you to think big and bring people down there too. There's no reason why there shouldn't be over 1,000 people from the Pacific Central District. Part of the concern has been coming to Phoenix in the middle of the heat. It's not really the middle. It gets hotter in July and August than the end of June. And yeah, when you get there, in order to register at noon, we're going to make you march around downtown before you can register. And this... It's because I get to ask that question every time. I mean, I've been going to GAs since 1973, and I can remember Fort Worth and Fort Lauderdale and think, hot? I mean, yes, it's going to be hot in Phoenix, but there's going to be plenty to do inside. We have really rearranged the grid so that some of the things that are usually in the evening, like the Service of the Living Tradition and the youth service, the name of which just slipped my mind. Well, not the bridging, Synergy. Are going to be earlier in the day rather than later in the day, so in the evening we can do things outdoors when it's cooler with our partners there, and maybe have some parties and street music and things like that. Our partners have not asked us to commit civil disobedience, and there are no plans for any of that at this, so you're not going to be forced to go out and get arrested. You are going to be invited to come and work with us to build that capacity to do justice, to walk our talk, as I said earlier, and to be there. And we're excited about you all coming down from the PCD to this event.
Okay. So that Ken has given you the answer to a couple of the questions that people will ask you in your congregation. Why are we going? I hope we all know why we're going now. And will we be arrested? What if you don't want to be arrested? That's the most common question that people are asking about this General Assembly. It's very important to understand that we are following the queue of organizations, and they are not asking us at this point in time to commit any acts of civil disobedience. What they're asking us to do is come and bring our powerful religious witness to the issues that they are facing there, so that the attention of the world can be turned on what is going on there. And that's really what we're going to be doing. So in a minute, we're going to pull up an example. This is actually something that is now available on the UUA website for your congregation to go to to look at, which is, there is on the website, and it's definitely on the website. Whether it will be on our screen or not is a totally different website. I can vouch for that. There are a lot of resources, both around General Assembly, preparing for General Assembly, but there is also a grid that allows you to see what right now it looks like this General Assembly will be. And what that grid will show you, which I'm sure we'll see any minute now, is that that what we're going to be doing is a lot more witness than usual, and we're going to be doing a lot of education that is tied to the issues of the sort of human and civil rights issues that are the kind of the matrix of issues that are showcased, unfortunately, in Arizona. And also, we are going to be looking at ways that we can, reassured I am that these people that know what they're doing can't get this thing to work, because I haven't been able to do it all day. So I'm glad to know it's not just me. So it's really a different General Assembly in that way, although many of the elements that people know are there will also be happening. There you go. It's the grid. It's a grid. So if you see this, and a number of us spent a week in September working this out, you'll see that there is quite a bit of education and preparation for witness. There is some direct service that people will be doing, going out into the communities to do direct service activities here. There is a lot of opportunities for people to reflect on what they're learning together in smaller groups and to be in a kind of reflective process. What there is a lot less of is plenary. There will be a lot less plenary at this General Assembly. Well, we will not tell Jenny Quarter that you clapped, if you clapped. We love Jenny, but there is a lot less. And the reason for that is we wanted to make room for the witness and the service activities, and also for the education and capacity building activities, because the purpose of this General Assembly really is to build the capacity of the congregations to come back and continue to do this work, this sort of witness, in a more powerful way. There is some tentative ideas of having some community celebrations, having some of the local partner organizations with us. And Ken, you might want to say a few more words.
Well, yeah, we're working on the witness events, the celebration events. We're looking at doing something that will be a multi-generational musical event, probably one of those nights. We're also possibly looking at one of those nights being something that is led by our young adults working with the DREAM folks in Phoenix, so that we can have our support of the DREAM Act and such as one of those evening events outdoors. And so we're looking at a range of things. Some of the training for service, or what we're calling there, I guess, is preparation, is we're working with a group called Mi Familia Vota. There are 180,000 people in the state of Arizona, and the figures are probably as high or higher in other states, who are eligible to be citizens, that have just not applied for a variety of reasons. And Mi Familia Vota we've been working with them to have citizenship fairs. So one of the things we're going to be doing is training people who might want to learn how to put on citizenship fairs or participate in a citizenship fair and then do one on Saturday, where UUs will go out into the community and be available to help people fill out the paperwork so that they can apply for citizenship. Do voter registration, and I'm not quite sure where we are with that yet, but that might be another service project to work with Mi Familia Vota in doing voter registration, which will obviously be crucial at that time in June of 2012. So those are some of the things we're looking at moving toward. I just want to say one other thing, and that is the basics of this grid came out of a meeting that Susan Frederick Gray and I hosted in Phoenix with our partners. And so, understand that what's on here and a lot of what's behind the simple words up here came from the people we're working with in Arizona. The ideas about how to structure this, how to have what types of things, preparation and education things to have, came from them. And so it definitely is going to be an exciting possibility in working in partnership.
Okay. A couple quick things I want to ask in terms of frequently asked questions. One is, will people of all ability levels be able to participate? A lot of people are concerned about the heat. They're concerned about their association, again, with civil disobedience, which of course is not what we're going there to do, but that's an important consideration. It's very important to know that as Ken has already alluded to, there's been a lot of thought about how to provide various points of access for people of all different, that have all different kinds of needs in terms of what they can and can't do. And we will not necessarily be, I was going to say we won't be doing Witness at high noon, but there's actually a wonderful ongoing Witness in Phoenix at high noon. So we can invite some people to go to that if they feel up to it. But most of the other ones we're trying to schedule, so they'll be in the evening, be at the times when it's safer for people to be outside. Another question we get frequently is, what about youth participation? And what I think is important to say is that there is a lot of care being taken to make sure that this is a General Assembly that we will have great youth participation at. It would be our goal to have more of our youth there rather than less. Thank you. We have youth in the back, so we appreciate your enthusiasm about that. So there will be, again, there have been all kinds of misinformation put out there about that, so it's important to know that the regular precautions that would be in place for any General Assembly around youth would be in place for this General Assembly, and we hope that people will be encouraging youth participation.
Just so you know that some of the resources that are there are resources besides this at the GA website that you can go to. There's a new blog that is really taking off, I think, which is, I can't remember what it's titled. Does anybody? Cooking Together. Thank you. With the idea that rather than the UUA churning out some wise words on their website, that we create this blog that everybody can participate in, that will be Cooking Together. The other thing that what I've done in our PSWD website, and this is all on your bibliography that is in your packet, so you don't have to be writing this stuff down, is I have a border and immigration issues page, and on that we talked about this at least in one of the workshops on the Doctrine of Discovery. There's stuff on the DREAM Act. There are several reports that are on there that are pertinent that would be great for study or not. I've got a couple resources here. The ACLU did a report on the prisons that the people are being housed in on immigration. No More Deaths, one of the other groups we work with, did a Culture of Cruelty, which is abuse and impunity in short-term U.S. Border Patrol custody. So there's a lot of resources listed on this website for reports that you could use and use as discussion group things that are available. Operation Streamline, a link to that Lost in Detention video that you can buy the video, or you can also go to PBS and watch it on your computer. So there's a lot of resources available for you to do study ahead of time and look at that between the UA site, between our PSWD site, and you've got resources too listed on a wider range of sites as well.
And that's what we want to spend the last piece about this is Lindy's going to talk with us about how to use Justice General Assembly as a capacity building experience. So, Lindy.
Well, first I just want to say I'm grateful to have Ken up here because UU Legislative Ministry divides itself between the PCD and the PSWD, and usually we're traveling south, so it's wonderful to see PSWD traveling north and get to see a bit of California together. So I think it really is important that California UUs go to Arizona for Justice GA, but it's also really important that we figure out what we can do here in California. Justice is an opportunity to build capacity, to learn about immigration, to learn about structures for justice teams, leadership, conflict, priorities, getting strategic, that sort of thing. But really, we also got to think about California. So we can go to the next slide. Because there's 37 million people who live in California, and that's 1 out of every 8 in the United States. So what happens here really does matter in terms of what's possible in the country. While Arizona and Alabama legislators are creating crisis for immigrants in their district, they're in their midst, California is moving ahead with the State DREAM Act. And there's a nice picture. It's a little fuzzy, but that's Jerry Brown signing the DREAM Act on the back of the author, I believe. And those of you who were in Richard's workshop or will read the piece that he put together can see some of the other good legislation that just came out this year. That's the good news. The bad news is the next slide, which is that there's a ballot measure in session called the Taxpayer Protection Act of 2012 that would repeal California's DREAM Act, require our local police to implement ICE, prohibit those without proof of legal status from driving, which they can't already, and require pregnant women using Medi-Cal to be fingerprinted, with the fingerprints being forwarded to Homeland Security. Ooh. Boo. Can I hear a boo? Boo. So in the same way that we felt under attack, with Prop 8, this is a dynamic that we need to pay attention to. We need to be talking with friends and family. Don't sign petitions at the grocery store called the Taxpayer Protection Act of 2012. So let's go to the next slide. So whether we're advancing our values or blocking bad ballot measures, the UU Legislative Ministry in California has shown what's possible when we collaborate. So we had our work on marriage equality. There's a nice little photo up there. And I think we can all have a little celebration that Don't Ask, Don't Tell has been repealed. Thank you to everybody. We had some interfaith amicus briefs that were filed on that issue. And we're really happy that our UU chaplains, who wanted to be able to marry people equally, can now marry same-sex couples in the military. And when military people start getting married and they start asking, why they're risking their lives and not being treated equally by the federal government, DOMA's days are numbered. So this is good. All right, next slide. UULM also, we had a nice a thrill this last couple of months here. Thanks to all of you who signed water postcards, sent letters, did hoopla. 4 bills in the Human Right to Water package were signed by the governor with a Human Right to Water message. So that's what you do when you all work together. So moving right along, we've got 75 congregations, 13,000 adult UUs, 5,700 of them in the UULM network. If you could help us get the rest in there, that would be great. There's a little form in your packet where people can sign up, including you. We've got UU experts, activists, networks of relationship, access to the Capitol, and figuring out how to share best practices. Our board has asked us to do this now with immigration reform. So we are going to be forming a statewide team, just like we have a statewide team on marriage equality, just like we have a statewide team on climate change and water justice, or climate and water justice. We're going to be forming a statewide team on immigration reform. So let's go to the next one there. So the kinds of things that we're going to be working on here is figuring out what we should do together. The people who are on the steering committee are folks who are our experts. So if you have people in your world that you think will have the judgment, the thoughtfulness, the ability to work well with others, and to be a guiding presence for UUs all over the state about the kinds of policies, strategies, education, and things that we could do together in California, because California can make a difference. Please come and talk to me. Please fill out the form. Please recommend people. Recommend yourself if you're interested. We're also going to be looking for people to coordinate clusters. Those of you who listen to Richard know that right now the action is at the county level as well as at the state level. So people that are interested in working together with congregations in their area, we're happy to work with you and help you get connected with people doing other things. We've got great work going on in San Diego. There's some work going on in LA. We need to be talking to each other so we can learn from one another. Let's see what we've got next here. So clusters. These are the clusters in the north are on the left and the south are on the right. PSWD is much more comfortable and used to working in clusters than the PCD has been. But I'd say time to cluster up, okay? Let's get cozy with our neighbors. And you'll find in your packet on the left-hand side, if you open it up, somewhere near the back of it, is a piece that's called a Congregation and Community Assessment. Let's see if we can see what we get next here. The Congregation and Community Assessment, this was actually adapted from some work that we did in marriage equality. It's a way when you're trying to think, well, what should we do next? How do we actually get started? And there's a way that there's just a list of things that you can use to find out about what's already happened in the history and trajectory in your own congregational story, what's going on in your local community, and a lot of ideas for relationship building and identifying groups that you want to go and find out. What are they interested in? What are they doing? What can you learn about? Because as you build those relationships between your congregation and the other groups in your community, and between your congregation and neighboring congregations, those are the things that actually build the justice infrastructure to do the work that needs to get done. We are long past the days when single congregations can just be stars all by themselves, lovely stars as you are. But if we're really going to make this thing go, we got to figure out how to collaborate. And let's see where we go. The other thing that I want to encourage you to do is also on the left-hand side. Did you notice UULM is sort of on the left, it looks like, in this packet? But anyway, also on the left-hand side, Camp de Benneville Pines is a camp that is absolutely beloved in the PSWD. It was started out as a Universalist camp, became a Unitarian Universalist camp. It's at 6,800 feet up in the mountains east of Los Angeles. You can get there in about an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half from the Ontario airport. We are going to be arranging rides. There's also people driving down. But we're having a Justice Leaders training, a whole weekend, and time to not only go deeper on the kinds of skills that we need, but also to build the kind of relationships that we need to really carry this thing forward. And we have amazing trainers who are going to be there. Frederick Gray is coming over from Phoenix. Kurt Kuwald from our own community is going to be there with some conversations about the Occupy movement. We've got, well, look at the packet on the left-hand side. There's a pink flyer in there, and it's got lists of all of the trainers, except Kurt got left off because we just recruited him. And it's got a list of the kinds of workshops that we're going to be offering as well. So tomorrow, before Trick or Treat, is the last early bird. There's our early bird. It's the last early bird registration day, where it's cheaper to register. But even if it's cheaper to register, I'd really encourage you guys to consider making a donation to help other people go. We do have people writing to us, especially from the Central Valley. There's a lot of folks who are out of work, who are justice advocates and would love to be there. And our SALT participants, our spiritual activist leadership trainers, I see Garner here. I'm not sure do we have other salters? We got some, Julia, Natalie, and Sonia. Those of you who haven't found out about SALT yet, that's also on the left-hand side. And last but not least, we would really like your financial help. Everybody's been plugging t-shirts, t-shirt as well. We thought this was an attractive color, and we were happy when Standing on the Side of Love showed up with the exact same color that we'd been wearing to the Capitol for a while. It made it very convenient. So wherever you want to go, Stand on the Side of Love or UULM, we're the folks in the yellow shirts, and we still have shirts to sell. It can be a two-shirt family. So we hope you'll encourage that. We also would like you to make sure to include UULM on your congregational Share the Plate list for the year. And if you're thinking about end-of-the-year gifts, you will think of us.